then we have Lepto, all the way from, Lepto, where did you come from today?
Germany, guys, digital.
From where?
Digital, all the way.
Düsseldorf, all the way, all the way. And then of course we have Omi. If you have not seen his YouTube channel, you have to. Come on, he has a video where he drives past a Ferrari and it's hilarious. I love it. And he does this little eyebrow raise like, haha, sucker. So go watch that. And then we have a panel with celebrities from the likes of John Lewis. It's amazing. So get excited, get excited. So I'm going to kick off today, and I think it's the down button, with a quick presentation, 10 steps to drive content marketing success with SEO. And so let's just dive right into it. So, content marketing, a fantastic way to take your SEO to the next level. We do a lot of in-house events at BlueGlass for in-house SEO marketers, content marketers, and we're going to be sharing some of the tips that we share in those roundtable events. If you're interested, please let us know because we'd love to include you in the next. I see some people that have attended in the audience, so that's cool. So, of course, the focus here is that in competitive sectors, it's not enough to just get your on-site optimization right. You really have to make sure that we have engaging content and that we build those authority links to the site. And so we're going to be talking about how to do that. But we need to do it for the right reasons. And we find that typically when potential clients come to us to pitch for a new opportunity, they've already done a lot of, God, why does that happen? They've already done a lot of content marketing in the past, but it hasn't been based on the top of the priority pyramid. So essentially, why are we making this content? So we get a lot of like random infographics that someone in the branding team thought would be pretty, but didn't measure back to return on investment. And so we always like to start by really focusing on why are we doing this? What is the end goal? We have a client now who all they want to do is build up the number of referring domains. That is the only purpose of us doing any activity. And so that's what we focus on. And so the first step is, of course, the strategic approach and getting the right team in place. So the way we do that is focusing on 3 areas. So for us, every client gets this kind of suite of, offering. The first is strategy. So that really focuses on the SEO strategy. So what are the keywords that we're trying to rank higher with? And that is going to be the basis of any content marketing that we do. We wouldn't waste our breath otherwise. Next is the creativity. So essentially with the production of that content. So that's the content team, really, making the content that will relate back to those goals, whether it be something car hire related or about Forex or whatever it might be. And then of course that third stage is digital PR. So making sure that the content that we've built actually delivers. And gets the visibility and, very importantly, the links, maybe for some, focus on follow links, that will actually make sure that we see that rise in rankings. So it's really important for us. So the second stage is identifying what success looks like. And I love this pyramid because the C-suite starts at the top. They want to make money through organic traffic, which means we have to identify what keywords we should be ranking. Then it comes down to the actual humdrum of SEO and content marketing. Versus a lot of SEO teams, if we're approached by an SEO person in particular, they're starting at the bottom, right? And then having to work their way up into how do we actually prove that we've made money out of this at the end of the equation. So we like to try and focus on the business goals at the start of a relationship and make sure that whatever content marketing you guys are doing, that we're going to have ROI numbers that we can report on at the end of that. Make sure that any HTML5 is marked up correctly, that everything you do, you can prove the engagement and the value of, so that when you're done with spending 15 or 20K on a campaign, it actually makes sense. Step 3 is building up your content strategy, targeting those key opportunities and prioritizing them by value. So we do a lot of research at BlueGlass before we actually focus on a certain opportunity. We use a lot of tools, including the likes of, obviously, anyone's in-house analytics, but also tools like YouGov or SurveyMonkey. We really like to research and understand, okay, what kind of content is going to resonate with markets. So that doesn't mean we're going to do a survey of 3,000 people on a certain topic in order to then have something press release relatable only. we'll do a small survey of 200 people to prove to a client, the level of engagement that a piece could get with a certain kind of market. We find that that's a really good way to get people internally in-house that are more senior to commit to certain budgets in order to really do a proper campaign, as I will say. Great. Step 4 is, of course, running collaborative brainstorms. And I think that the first stage of this, which I really like to focus on, is making sure that if you're going to have a brainstorm for content ideas, make sure that everyone in that room comes prepared for that brainstorm. That means that they will have already done their research individually and come with concepts that are justified. Currently, I find that I've seen some brainstorms happen where, people come and they're going to throw around some cool ideas. It's like, well, if that idea isn't backed by data, it's not backed by tools, by BuzzSumo research, etc., in order to understand what kind of social engagement did similar concepts get, then it honestly doesn't matter. So come with everyone having done the research. Otherwise, quite frankly, I send them back out of the room to make sure that they do that research and come back prepared. Brand versus PR hook. Is this something that's for a branding exercise, or is it to make sure that something is really high value from a PR perspective? What are those KPIs? And of course, also importantly, keeping a digital bank of ideas. So maybe in-house you run a brainstorm, you come up with a bunch of great ideas, and you end up with a Q3 plan to deliver on 2 of the concepts over the next 3 months. Well, what about the other ideas? Just because you haven't done them for Q3 doesn't mean they're irrelevant. Keep those ideas in a spreadsheet and make sure that you have them on tap to come back to them in the future. Because just because they're not right at that moment doesn't mean they're not right at another time. Step 4, or 5 even, is to work with influencers to maximize outreach success and get the PR feedback early. So we work really closely with influencers in a range of different industries to make sure that concepts that we're coming up with, are they actually feasible for journalists, editors, and influential bloggers in industries? And so it's really important that you maintain those relationships. Is this squeaking all the time, guys? In the back? No, it's cool. So it's just, oh no. A little bit, okay. Sorry, we're just gonna roll with it. So making sure that those influencers are on board with your concepts. For instance, the piece on the image on the left is of a food event that we held for a travel client that was doing a food event. And by having influencers come into an event, they were able to feedback on the piece, they were excited about the piece and engaged, and their advice was able to then be incorporated into the piece to make sure that it was as appropriate as possible for that audience. And it got into a bunch of food publication. It was really exciting. Step 6 is to leverage creative campaigns for big content ideas and PR coverage, of course. So focusing on leveraging all of that. A good example for us is working with Expedia. We delivered 3 different interactive HTML5s, which really focused on utilizing data to share new perspectives with publishers. We did 25 best shopping cities, which has been received really well, along with pieces around food markets, things like that, to get into a younger audience. So lots of publishers get excited about things like this. Step 7 is making sure that the publishers are excited about your potential coverage. So it's really important that you work with major publishers to offer them exclusives. You can even kind of divide that by, perhaps you have a survey with 5,000 people, divide the data from the survey to share it with different influencers or different publishers, maybe like a week or 2 in advance, and different kind of drop-off points. So maybe you have a female angle, that could go to the likes of the Mail Online, versus, I don't really need this, do I? I'm American. I'm gonna put that down. So essentially, you don't really, I really don't need that, do I? So using a publisher's publishers like the Mail Online to give exclusives to with different angles. Different publishers are keen on different angles. So you can use the same survey and essentially recycle the data in different ways to hit all the big publishers. But making sure that you have an exclusive is very, very important to getting those influential links to kind of kickstart your process of getting the promotion. Next is to build on influencer profiles internally and build credibility. I think with a lot of our clients, the challenge with this is that they don't want to upset anyone too senior by using their name without approval, but then they can't get the person's time to get the relevant quote, etc. So it's a fine balance. What we did for HealthSpan is we built out a nutrition expert hub. HealthSpan sells supplements. It is illegal to say vitamin C solves bone marrow issues or whatever. So we made a separate subdomain, which legal said was totally okay. And we created a hub of articles which we could then actually show off the nutritionists that wrote those articles to other publishers. So the likes of Cosmo, Ask Men, Men's Fitness Journal, all those kind of publishers, we were able to really make sure that the people that we had put forth and hired as nutritionists to write about their expertise within the kind of nutrition zone, or niche, I guess, we were actually able to then promote them to other publishers. A lot of publishers struggle with having regular writing slots. So actually, if you can guarantee to a publisher that you will have someone, you have to put a face forward. So someone senior and notable to write regularly on their publication, that has huge value to them, because then they don't have to worry about getting lots of independent, smaller pieces into their content plan for the next month. They know that each week they'll get one article from your brand, and that will take care of the dog food element or the finance Forex element, whatever it might be. Step 9 is push content further with paid amplification. So a really good example of this for us was working with Bloom and Wild on a very quick turnaround Easter piece where we hid an egg in that graphic somewhere. And so the game was find the egg in the graphic. And what we found was that actually by giving it a bit of a social promotion buzz and a little bit of extra help really helped its coverage. So it was covered obviously in a lot of really great publications. But getting it that extra bit of social promotion, it's like a little snowball. It starts small, but it keeps rolling. It's big. You know that. Okay, cool. Step 10, final step, is of course measurement. So making sure that we are proving that return on investment. Remember our pyramid from the beginning. And so really making sure that, using the relevant metrics, that you are proving all of those different steps as to why what you've created is actually of value. You meet a lot of frustrated SEOs who are like, oh, I can't get budget for this or that. It's probably because you haven't proven the value of all the other stuff they already gave you budget for. Or maybe not your fault, but past people doing SEO at your brand. So make sure that you do that. And that is it. You are now ready to get started. And I don't know what that's like. Thank you for listening.